And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Varsity Link Coaches Corner on this 9th day of November.
No lights on it.
Kevin Williams, along with Bob Batters and Ed Sarluca, the usual crew. Tonight we will be featuring the Griffins of Donovan Catholic, and we'll be joined by their head coach and a couple of their outstanding players in a little bit. Of course, Donovan Catholic has the easy game on Saturday at Bergen Catholic. We'll be talking about that, but the season and the program that they've built over there, which has been very, very impressive under head coach Dan Curcione. Again, we'll do that in a bit. But as we always do, and I start realizing that every week we're going to have less teams to talk about. You start looking at how many teams season over. Who you playing this week? Season over. But as we always do, we like to take a look back at last weekend and in the playoffs, what may have surprised us. I would think right off the bat, guys, I'll jump in. There really are not upsets in high school football because there's no point spreads, at least not legally. But certainly I think the one that surprised all of us was Point Borough not just losing a team that we thought would win a sectional championship, not just losing to Willingboro, but giving up 50 points in the process.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers, the top seed in the Central Jersey Group 2 bracket, undefeated coming into that game. I mean, it was 50-30 to a Willingboro team that was, it entered the game at 4-5. So on the surface, you look at it and, yeah, it's a huge upset. It doesn't make much sense. But, Willingboro had really been on a hot streak. They had rushed for something around 800 yards in their last couple games or so. And they had a freshman quarterback, Lamar Best, who threw 5 touchdowns and was amazing. And, they got some revenge. Point Borough beat them in last year's, championship game. So the Camara is a huge upset. And on the other side, just you're gutted for the Point Borough seniors. So many high expectations, for them coming into the year after winning the sectional championship last year and, losing by 1 point in the regional final, bringing back almost their entire team. So, to lose in the semifinals, yeah, that certainly wasn't something they planned, and that's a tough pill to swallow, again, especially for those seniors, and that's it for them. An incredible 2-year run, but certainly ending a lot earlier than anyone anticipated.
Yeah, that surprised me big time, when I heard that score, and like Kevin said, give up 50 to, on a defense that has been playing well, pretty good. And, if you talk to Brian Staub, which I didn't yet, and I usually talk to him every week, but I stayed away from him after that game, and I mean, he would say, hey, we scored 30 points. It's good enough to win. Our defense, was not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you tip your cap to their team. At the same time, yeah, I'm sure they're going to be looking back, thinking about that one for a little bit.
And, we talk so much about, these kids who play football, it's become a 12-month sport in some capacity, but certainly in the summer they kick it into high gear, practice in August, you're out there on the hot and all of that. And for Point Borough, I think if you were to be honest, anything less than winning a sectional championship to them this year would have been a huge disappointment. Now, don't take away from what they accomplished. They had a very good season. They won a division title. But to a man and to a coaching staff, I'm sure they would all say, like, hey, we totally expect to win the sectional and then hopefully make a run at the group. And you feel bad because it almost feels like a season for naught in some ways.
Yeah, and that is what comes with expectations. They're different for every team and every program, and this year for them it was to go win a championship and try to win multiple championships. Really, they won a division title and they wanted more. So, yeah, there's no other way to put it. That's a very difficult loss, and that's something that will sting those players and coaches probably for a long time.
From a coach's standpoint, if I was the defensive coordinator looking at that football game for Point Pleasant Borough, I probably wouldn't have prepared enough for the freshman quarterback. He had not done that at all, previously. Like you said, they've been running the ball fairly effectively. Brian knew they had speed, but I probably wouldn't have been ready for what he did. Throw 5 touchdown passes, virtually unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another one I want to talk about is a team that I just think has gotten better every week. Bob, I remember we saw them early in the year, and they were steamrolled by Red Bank Catholic, and it was very early, and you might have said to yourself, gee, maybe this Middletown South. Well, they haven't lost since. And I've seen them play 2 other times. And I think they're a team that's gotten better as the season has gone on. They've defined what they are. They're a team that runs the ball really well and plays really good defense. Gee, that's something they've done before at Middletown South,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit might be part of their identity. It's a throwback Middletown South team in that sense, and also the sense that they're right there competing for another championship. And I was at that game on Friday night. They win 24-10 over a very talented and very explosive and frankly very scary Winslow Township team with that offense. They move the ball. I mean, their running back, Jamal Peterson, ran for over 160 yards. Their quarterback threw for over 200 yards. They had yards. And they went right down the field on Middletown South and scored on their opening possession. But then that Eagles defense, so good, so clutch too, making big plays, forced turnovers at key moments of the game. And they only allowed that 1 score, and they win 24-10. And they have that formula now. This team, a clear identity. They're going to run it downhill. They're only going to throw it really if they see something big or if they have to. And they're going to lean on that defense to make big plays and just try to shut teams down. So far, it's worked. So they go for sectional championship number 11 on Friday night at home against Mainlands. Their 23rd time in the final. So, yeah, to say they have some tradition over there with that would be an understatement.
Raritan and Rumson both win, both win comfortably, and now set up a showdown, the only all-shore showdown we'll have for a sectional championship on Friday night at Raritan. Surprised by that at all?
I'm not surprised by the matchup at all. I mean, they are the top 2 seeds, and Raritan for the second year in a row, the number 1 seed. They had the home game last year, lost to Haddonfield, which of course went on and played Point Borough in the regional game. So Raritan back in the final, and Rumson, it's only their 9th straight season playing in a sectional championship game. Literally the only thing that stopped them was 2020 when there was no sectional championship games because there was no playoffs. So the Bulldogs, in what you would have to classify as a down year for them, they're 6-4 now. It's been up and down, kind of trying to find themselves, find the identity of this specific group. They have a really good, passing offense with their sophomore quarterback Owen O'Toole and 2 really good wide receivers in Scott Venancio and Nick Ribby. They found their running game a little bit lately, certainly in the semifinals, a win over Oakcrest, Alistair Orr over 100 yards, and now they get a familiar team, so a team they know in Raritan. So you bank on the pedigree of Rumson, but also you bank on Raritan and what they've actually done on the field. Really just running the ball exceptionally well every week in that offense. Kieran Falzone, Dan Calicari, and they play pretty good defense, and that's another team that's had some really great postseason moments. So that should be a pretty fun one on Friday night at the Launchpad.
Yeah, usually, one team in the shore flies under the radar for most of the year. I think that was Raritan this year. Would you agree?
Raritan and, even Rumson to a degree. Rumson is 6-4.
Especially after the slow start Rumson had.
Yeah, but I think most people would probably say they're not surprised Rumson is at this point. Raritan,
exactly. No.
Under the radar in a sense. They had 2 top 10 teams they played, had opportunities, kind of lost big both to Point Borough and Ocean. Then you kind of just forgot about Raritan until they had that big win over St. John Vianney, and now here they are playing in a championship game. So they do a great job. Anthony Petruzzi and his staff, they do a really good job. They're, a competitive championship contending team almost every season, and it seems like every year they're kind of forgotten about, and there's Raritan at the end, right in neck and neck for a title.
Yeah.
The game that we saw Friday, Kevin, was Toms River North and Marlboro, and North struggled a little bit in the first half, and Marlboro hung in there, injury-riddled Marlboro, losing their quarterback for the year, A.J. Swartz, and then their running back the prior week before the North game, and they were really playing at a little disadvantage, but I thought they played tough, and they hung in there. They have some big linemen, and they gave North some trouble. North turned it over once, which sort of made it a game in the first half, but second half, Michael Ford got going, and, there's not many quarterbacks better in the shore than Michael Ford.
There's not many players better in the shore than Michael Ford. Yeah, it was an interesting game. It was 14-0 North, and Marlboro drove down the field in the latter stages of the first half, got inside the 10-yard line. You start thinking, if they get a touchdown here, it's 14-7. Well, they had to settle for a field goal, and as you said, Ed, when the second half opened, the gates erupted, and Micah Ford put up just ridiculous numbers, 275 yards rushing, threw for 130 or 140.
Like that, yeah.
I think he was 5 for 5, didn't miss a pass. And he had, I'll tell you, I've never seen this. In a sequence of 4 plays, He ran 80 yards for a touchdown. The first play from scrimmage for Marlboro after that, he intercepts a pass. I think there might have been one play in between. Mm-hmm. Intercepts a pass, decent return. Then he throws a touchdown pass. It was 4 plays. He had a touchdown run, a touchdown pass, and an interception. He was just sensational. The North offensive line is big and strong and physical. It opened up some holes. And, of course, they get a chance to win a sectional title on Friday against a familiar foe in Kingsway, a team they lost to last year in that game. But things have changed a little bit. North has grown up a little bit from that team last year, and they're just better.
They have. I mean, that should be an awesome matchup. That's where I'll be on Friday night at Gernert Field. And for Toms River North, you're right, not just a loss to Kingsway last year's final, but a heartbreaking loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a back-and-forth game. Kingsway scores the go-ahead touchdown in the final minute and wins. And remember, even before last year's game, talking to Toms River North's head coach, Dave Oserwitz, and Kingsway was kind of a mirror image to North, a really young team, maybe got to a championship game a year earlier than expected, and they brought most of their team back, and now there they are in the final. They're 7-3, but don't pay attention to that record because they've played a really, really tough schedule. So that should just be an awesome game on Friday night. For North, that's the opponent and the game they've been waiting an entire calendar year to face again and to get back to. So they'll be juiced, they'll be ready.
Yeah, so that's kind of the weekend. Of course, we're saving Donovan Catholic when we get Coach Curcione and their players up here. There is one factor that we haven't talked about. I just want to touch on real quick. We have had an incredible season for weather. The weather this fall has almost been like historic. Beautiful nights. I mean, you could wear shorts every weekend. It's just been spectacular.
But now you hit us with this now.
But Friday night, the weather looks awful. I mean, we're supposed to get, this hurricane that's in Florida is supposed to come up the coast and collide with another system for the west. That's my meteorological talk. And it looks like, Friday late afternoon, Friday night into the overnight, and very early Saturday morning. We could just get just really heavy rain and gusty wind. So the old rule, right? You tell me if I'm wrong, Bob. The home team makes the decision to play or not to play. Once the game starts, only the referees can stop it. And sometimes teams will make a decision based on what they think gives them a better chance to win. I'm not accusing him. That's home field advantage.
Home field advantage.
That's what you play for.
No doubt.
If it's going to be a storm like that, and you're running the air raid offense, well, you're probably going to postpone that game.
Now,
you're running I formation.
My sense is Middletown South is playing Friday night. I have that from an inside source.
I don't think any of our teams that are playing at home, Toms River North is fine. If they can't throw the ball because of the weather, I think they're fine. They're built on the
probably
ground
right.
Anyway. Same thing with, Raritan versus Rumson. Raritan's the home team. They're running the ball a lot more than they're throwing it. Really, Rumson be the only team. They've thrown it a lot more this year than they've run
they
it.
have.
So if you're looking at that from a strategic standpoint, I think these games are going to be played on Friday night.
Of course, Donovan Catholic doesn't play till Saturday afternoon, so hopefully the weather clears.
The one thing they don't have to worry about probably is the weather.
Yeah, Saturday should be actually by the afternoon should clear up pretty decently. So speaking of the Griffins, Dan Curcione is their head coach. Has just an amazing job in the 6 seasons there of taken over a program that was a doormat for a while and has certainly made them into one of the Shore's perennial powers. We're going to chat with Dan right after this commercial break. You are watching the Varsity Link Coaches Corner on the Shore Sports Network. And welcome back to the Varsity Link Coaches Corner here on the Shore Sports Network. We are broadcasting live from the Office Lounge in downtown Toms River, certainly one of my favorite places. I've probably been here about 5,000 times over the years. Of course, we alternate weeks. We're here, and then next Wednesday we'll be at MJ's in Neptune on Route 66. So every Wednesday night, we will not be on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we'll go right through early December. We'll finish it up with our special awards program. And of course, it's all brought to you by Varsity Link. That is the Athletes app. Go into the App Store and download the Varsity Link app. And for all you athletes, regardless of sport, regardless of level, it's a social network thing, but you can also put in some of the information about yourself. So when colleges start looking, well, they have it right there. And if you're going to put your 40-yard time in, certainly exaggerate it. 4.3 seems just about right. Kevin Williams, Bob Batters, and Ed Sarluca, of course. And we welcome in the sixth-year head coach here at Donovan Catholic, Dan Curcione, who has just done a phenomenal job of building this program into the Shore's elite. As we sit here right now, the Griffins are 6-3, and of course, as we said, they'll be playing Bergen Catholic on Saturday afternoon in the parochial playoffs. Donovan Catholic winning last week in dramatic fashion, beating Hudson Catholic in the opening round 27-20 in overtime. Dan, first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Good to talk Griffin football with you. And those games like you had on Friday night, those are the ones that add a couple of gray hairs, huh?
Yeah, you could see it. You could see it coming in on the side. But thanks for having us again. You know, it's always a pleasure to come here and talk football with you guys.
So what's your thoughts when you go into an overtime game? Does anything really change in terms of your strategy, or do you just kind of continue what's worked well through the evening?
Well, my first thought was we shouldn't have been in overtime. I was kicking myself a little bit. I told the team I should have squibbed the darn kick. But it was I felt pretty good. I thought that they were a passing team. Pretty much we stopped the run the entire game. I thought when the field shrunk, we were in pretty good shape defensively. As long as we got a score, in there, and we did. We were fortunate enough to, hit a boot pass to Hunter Johnson, and then the defense ended it.
Go ahead, Bob.
Every year is different, but every year the goal, the ultimate goal is still the same thing: to keep winning, win a championship. You guys are 6-3, but you're playing in the quarterfinals of the state tournament, on Saturday. So from that standpoint, through most of the ups, some of the downs, are you right where you want it to be? When this played out, an opportunity, to move on in the state playoffs, and what is probably, one of the toughest brackets in the country.
Yeah, well, of course, we are, where we want to be, still playing. Mm-hmm. Could have easily ended the other night. So that's where we wanted to be. Did we want to win a couple more along the way? Yeah. Of course. That's kind of been where we've been the last couple of years. But we've had a young team, and, we dropped a couple that, I thought that a couple things happened. We could have won. But we're still playing, and we're still preparing, to win. No matter who we play, we prepare the same way. We practice the same way, and we ask the same thing out of the kids.
Okay, Dan, this year now you took the kids to MetLife Stadium, and you played one of the powers up there, okay, St. Joe Montville. Help you?
Well,
even though you lost the football game.
We'll find out in due time. It was, I knew that I took the game for a reason. I knew we were young, and I knew that we needed to be in situations where we're playing the teams from up north. So when I got asked the opportunity to do it, I jumped at it. And will that help you? That's the hope. We'll see going forward. And I think for some of the kids on the team, you won't know for a time period.
Yeah, a year.
But with this team, we'll see how we perform Saturday, and then I'll be able to answer that a little bit better. But I do think, playing a team of St. Joe's caliber at that point, things go a little slower the next game, and it definitely helps you in that aspect.
Dan, when you have success, which you've had, and you build a winning program, which you have done, the bar is raised and the expectations are raised. You've had a fairly explosive offense for most of the past couple of years. I mean, dynamic. But when I saw you play Middletown South a couple of weeks ago, what I noticed more than anything was grabbing a roster. I don't think I've ever seen so many freshmen listed on a roster, and you play some of those freshmen. You are really a very, very young team. Now, you could take the attitude the freshmen are now sophomores with game experience, but you really do have a very, very young team, and it seems to me like you've relied a little more on your defense this year to sort of carry the ball at times.
You know, if you look at our offense, you know, we had one offensive lineman returning from last year. You know, we broke in a new quarterback. We broke in a new running back. Michael was really the only returner in the receiving corps, and you know, he was a freshman last year. But I mean, I'm not sitting here making excuses and saying we shouldn't have success. Like, we expect to win. We expect to be a winning program. And, you know, we expect to keep getting better and to have, you know, that dynamic offense back. But did we lean on the defense? I don't think anything was by design. We prepare the same way. We try, you know, when we're in the game, we try to win it no matter how, you know, how it's going to be, whether it's a lean on the defense or, you know, score a lot of points. But, you know, there's no design to it. It's just, you know, play the best players and prepare them the best you can to win.
Let me just add that Michael's a reference to Michael Thomas III, who we will be talking with shortly. But defense did, by the way, post 3 shutouts this year, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. Pretty good defensive unit. But Kevin mentioned the youth, and I know it's been kind of a topic surrounding the team just because, like Kevin said, look at the roster and see freshman, sophomore everywhere. It kind of opens up eyes. But when you were preparing for this season and the offseason and it turns into the preseason, and because you graduated so many impactful players off last year, how did you see this team forming in terms of some of the strengths and the things that you wanted to build on, and maybe have they built on those things now where, you know, we're coming up on game 10 and you guys have maybe found an identity with this core?
You know, that's a tough question, you know, because you break in that many new guys and you're trying to figure it out as you go, especially, you know, when you do it at the quarterback position. And Todd's done a heck of a job for us. So it's just work to me. I mean, I don't look at it from, you know, people use the rebuilding word. I don't even really know what that means, to be honest with you. It's come to practice, work hard in the off season leading up to it. Try to get better every single day. And it's how I've always approached it, no matter who I've coached. Whether, you know, we didn't prepare any different this year because we had a young team, and then different last year because we had a veteran team of guys who have played a lot. So that's, you know, difficult question to answer. You know, we just try to find what we're good at and go to it, and then, you know, play off of that.
What stands out about this group then? What is it about this year's team that you think makes them go?
You know, I think it's, you know, I think they're a resilient, tough group. You know, they're a bunch of really good kids. They work hard. They're gritty. They're tough in the games. We don't give up, no matter what the situation was. We went up to Giant Stadium, or MetLife, excuse me. I'm used to that from the old days. But you know, it kind of got away from us, but we fought. You know, we fought, particularly the defense really fought in the second half. And, you know, you kind of knew the game wasn't in doubt anymore, but I'm proud of their effort. They don't pack it in ever, and it's their good, high-character group of young men.
Can work with that.
Yeah,
Dan,
absolutely.
Dan, Bergen Catholic this week, okay? Now, you had him last year, knocked you out last year. I saw the game. I thought you hung tough with them. You know, some questionable calls by Bergen Catholic. First of all, starting the game at 2 o'clock, knowing it was going to rain, and then, of course, not being able to finish, starting the game at 2 o'clock with no lights on the field, not being able to finish the game. You had to come back home and then go back up. I mean, that's a tough situation.
You know, you asked my wife how much I like riding on the Parkway. You could tell how much I really enjoyed going back there again, just in that aspect alone. But, Yeah, it was that was a difficult situation, but the kids played hard. It's we don't make excuses.
No, but my point is that it's a familiar foe. You know what they're going to do. You know the field situation. Some of these kids have been there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do you think in the big bad Catholic League up north, there's been so much controversy surrounding that league, the Seton Halls, the St. Joe Montvales, the Don Boscos. Have you closed the gap against some of those teams, do you think?
We'll find out. We'll find out. But, they're a heck of a coach team. They have star players at every level. It's one heck of a challenge. We're looking forward to it. I look forward to that. I think that they're well coached. I want to challenge myself. I look forward to competition. And that's kind of what I try to express to these guys. Competition is nothing to be afraid of. And
you kind of just answered the question I was thinking of, but is that the way that you almost have to look at it, or the way you have to look at it if you're going to breed some success, is that those games, no matter what program you're at, where you're kind of taking a step up in competition, are those just opportunities? Is that the way you try to look at it? Like, hey, no matter what's an opportunity, no matter what everyone else thinks this game is going to go, an opportunity for us to go out and do something special?
It's a heck of an opportunity. It's the state playoffs. Yeah. It's where we want to be. I'm not looking at that like that. That's we're dreading the situation.
I was talking specifically this week, of course, but just in general.
In general, we want to play in big games. I think that's why the kids signed up to come to school at Donovan and play football for this program. We get an opportunity to make a name for ourselves. Absolutely.
So, can you compare the Bergen Catholic team from this year to last year? What you've seen on film and what you know?
Yeah, I mean they were ranked third in the country or something last year. Yeah. They're an excellent ball club. They're tough in the front on their defense. They have a couple of really high caliber scholarship guys on their defensive line. Their linebackers are good. They're athletic in the secondary. There's not a lot that I'm gonna
not a lot to exploit.
Yeah, they're well coached. They do a lot of different things offensively. They attack you in the run game. They block well. They're a good, sound, solid ball club, and with a bunch of really good players.
Yeah, you're there Saturday at 2:00. Is that
at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. Saturday at 1 in Oradell. Lovely place to be in November. Bergen Catholic, by the way, has won 15 sectional titles, so obviously they're a historic and legendary good program, and of course that's what Dan is trying to do with Donovan Catholic, is to do the same thing, is to build his program. So, Coach, I ask you this. Your love of football is obvious. You were an outstanding player in your own right. These guys probably don't know that, and they probably have no idea how tough you were. Coach Sarluka tells me one of the toughest that ever wore the Stang uniform.
Yes, he was. No doubt.
But what is your ultimate goal at Donovan Catholic? If we were sitting here 10 years from now, I'd be really old, that's for sure. But if we were sitting here 10 years from now, what would you like to say about the program you've built?
That's a heck of a question.
Well, every once in a while they come out with a good one.
I feel like I'm in a job interview here. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? I don't know. I don't think I think of it, in that long of a time period. But I always want us to be looked at as a tough, hard-nosed, well-coached group of really good young men, and that fight into the end of the fourth quarter. They never give up. That's kind of how I played. I think you could ask him; he'll give you a better idea. I just think that I want it to be a place where kids really enjoy playing football. I don't want to set any kind. I never set. We're going to win this many games. We're going to win this many championships. I love the game. I love coaching it. I love working with young kids, young men, and I just hope that when we come back 10 years from now, a couple of them are coaching with me and want to come back and be a part of the program. And we've seen that with some of the kids that have played in the last 6 years already, and that makes me happy. You know, would it be nice if we have a couple of titles up on the wall? Yeah, you better believe it. But that's obviously always the goal. But I think it's a little bit deeper than that sometimes as well.
Dan Curcione took over a program that had not won a game, and he's built the Griffins into something pretty special. Coach, thank you very much for your time, as we always appreciate it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Dante and Michael. We'll do that right after this. You're watching the Varsity Link Coaches Corner on the Shore Sports Network. And welcome back to the Varsity Link Coaches Corner. We are broadcasting live from the Office Lounge in downtown Toms River, talking Donovan Catholic football. And out goes Coach Curcione, and in comes a senior linebacker and slot receiver Dante Vernieri, and sophomore wide receiver and defensive back Michael Thomas III. Bob, I think this is the first time we've ever had a sophomore on the show.
No.
We did?
The Manchester quarterback is sophomore, Aiden Lund.
Okay, so that's not the correct statement. Bob, this is the second time we've had a sophomore on the show.
But I knew you were getting at.
Yeah, just
look. This is the first time we've had a sophomore on the show who was started last year.
Now, okay, there you go. It's the first sophomore wide receiver we've ever had on the show.
There it is.
Fellas, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. And as you get ready for your game on Saturday with Bergen Catholic. Dante, I'm going to start with you being the senior. You have watched this program get to this point. You've been involved with the program now. It's your senior year. Coach sort of described what he's looking for. Is that what he's done? Is that what he's built at Donovan? Do you have a group of hard-nosed, gritty kids who just love the game?
Yeah, of course. Everything he said was spot on. Everything he's been saying this whole interview.
Those types of characteristics of a program, as Coach Curcione mentioned, that becomes the culture of programming. It's kind of a buzzword around football. Culture. Everyone wants to build their own culture. But tell me what it's like being a Donovan Catholic Griffin. I mean, I'll have to go on forever. But in terms of what he was talking about, that kind of tight-knit community everyone wants to build around their football program, and you guys doing it in that kind of, led by hard work and that kind of gritty attitude.
Yeah. Well, the football programs are actually awesome. Just like he said, everything about it. The school itself, it's awesome. Everybody around us is just great.
Seems like it's been working out pretty good for you guys.
Really good.
By the way, Dante's numbers this year, Bob, are just staggering. 151 total tackles through 9 games. But let's not forget his ability as a receiver, because really that's what he is. The linebacker thing is just a side job. He's 10 receptions for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is the playmaker. But you've had yourself a really good season. Before we go to Michael, I want to ask you, you played against Bergen Catholic last year.
Yeah, last year.
So you kind of know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel you're more prepared for that kind of game, having been there before?
Yeah, definitely. We already know what the culture's like, all the environment and everything. Last year it didn't really go our way, but we're coming back down and we know what to expect.
That playoff experience, is it more about not just playoff experience against Bergen Catholic, but just playoff experience in general? Is that just more about understanding how that moment is maybe different from the regular season? Everyone talks about, hey, it's the playoffs, it's different. having been there last year, not just for you specifically, but for everyone on the team, is that big because you know what that moment is like? Not necessarily the opponent, but what that moment means?
Yeah, we're preparing the same way, just like Coach said. We know we're coming up there for a big game. We've been there before. We know what to expect. But, yeah, we're still going to compete the same way. Obviously, have a better outcome. But, yeah.
Michael Thomas III, the scintillating sophomore wide receiver, played last year as a freshman. You got a new quarterback this year. Tell me about that relationship. Has it gotten better over the year as you've gotten more familiar with one another?
Yeah, we've been together since freshman year. We always been talking and all that, but during the football season, we had to grow together, work together more and all that. We used to train all the time before practice and all that, so yeah.
You know, last year, Michael, as a freshman, to get on the field and play significant snaps as a freshman at the varsity level is hard at any program. So obviously you were, talented enough and worked hard enough to get on the field. But you got some great receivers, so you weren't like the number one option. And this year you come in as really one of the few guys back. So just tell me about that. Going into your sophomore year where you're one of the key returners, especially at receiver, and there's kind of going to be more on your plate now this year.
Yeah, it was a big step for me. Freshman year, third receiver behind Kyrie and my son. When I went into the sophomore year, I knew I had to have a bigger role and be the leader of the team, wide receiver core. So yeah, me and Eric, E-Man, and all of them, we brought in George, and I think our wide receiver core is good for now, yeah.
What were some of the things that you personally worked on in the offseason, going from freshman year to sophomore year, just trying to get better at your craft as a wideout?
Yeah, everything, catching, route running. I have a trainer up in Sayreville, New Jersey, Jakari Carter. He teaches me everything. My dad, Coach Ty, teaches me with my agility and my footwork and all of that. So yeah, and lifting with depth, of course. Yeah.
Jakari Carter, Jakari Carter, an outstanding player for Sayreville during his time with the Bombers.
Michael, by the way, with 41 receptions, 498 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You were talking about how you had to step up, and there were a couple of guys last year kind of ahead of you. It also means the defense knows that you're the guy to key on. Have you noticed the change in coverage you've seen this year compared to last year? Oh, boy.
Oh, man. I've been getting doubled a lot. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of annoying. It's really annoying. Really, really annoying. I'd be having like conversations on this, like in the game to the corners, like, come on, like, can I just like get open for like at least one play? like, can I get at least like one chance? Like, one catch is good for me. Like, come on.
What you got to do is when you come out, you got to tell them they're throwing to Veneri. Jump on him. Don't worry about me.
That's too much. Before I get to the real question with you, so you talk about defensive backs covering well. And last year, your coverage, Dante, was like uncanny. Like I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Did you have 4 interception returns for touchdowns? Was it?
I had 4 and 5 interceptions.
And 5 picks overall.
Mm-hmm.
This year, like, did everyone just stop throwing to you?
Yeah.
Like usually they get the word with the D-backs, like don't throw in his direction. Usually not with the linebacker, but it seems like no one's throwing at you anymore.
Yeah, I haven't really got the chance to pick one over the middle.
And going back to that real quick last year, how crazy was that? Because to have that many interceptions for a linebacker is rare. But it seemed like every time you catching it, there was just green grass in front of you. I mean, did you start to get even surprised that like every time you picked it off, it was going for 6?
Yeah, a little bit because they were normally – it was open field
a
lot. I had to break a few tackles in a couple of them. But, yeah, mostly.
All right, the real question, your defense, it's played awesome this season. Mm-hmm. Even in 2 out of 3 losses, you guys only gave up, 2 touchdowns. So it's a unit that has been performing at a high level all season. You're clearly one of the top returners and have had a great year. Mm-hmm. When I talk to people about your defense, constantly hear about your defensive line, how good those guys are up front. So tell me about those group in front of you and how much that helps the linebackers. It seems like you guys are not too many blockers getting to you guys in that second level.
Yeah, no, we're awesome defensive line. We have Zaire Day, Ducky we call him, Lou, Sam, and Adam. We all sub in. Everybody gets their shots. Yeah, like last game I was saying, I went to go get a sack. I blitzed, and they're always there. Throwing them down. I'm like, all right, you took my sack.
They beating you? So
yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Who's the rest of your linebacker core? You got to give your guys a shout
Got
out.
J.J. Correa. He's injured, but he did awesome for us this season. He fought through with an injury the whole entire season. We got Joe over there. He's our backup now. He stepped his role, a new role. He's doing really good. We got Hunter And Roman Moyers, he played DB, but he has experience. He can play linebacker too. He's fast. We just got a bunch of good guys.
And how about those guys in the secondary too? We might as well round out the rest of the defense.
Yeah, no, they're awesome too. They're always covering their guys. We got a bunch of playmakers back there. They all have speed, and they can hit really well.
You know, Ed always likes to ask what he calls his fun questions. You know, we're pretty
Now,
serious.
these are the
in
tough
our-
questions they were concerned
Yeah,
about.
yeah, you know, these, yeah, so, but we're not going to put you on the spot. All right, so here's the first one. These are all tribute to Ed, who loves to ask this. Do you have pasta parties during the season? You ever have them?
No, we have team dinners on Thursdays before the
Okay.
game. But
Same
yeah,
thing, yeah.
Okay,
basically,
team
yeah.
dinner. Okay, team dinner. Who's the guy, if you get behind him in line, you're worried when you get to the front there's going to be no food left?
Adam on the whole line.
What's Adam's last
Adam
name?
Yevchuk.
Yevchuk, okay.
Uh-huh.
He's a big guy? Yeah.
Nah, he's not.
All right, so now we have the answer to that
there you
question.
go.
That's always one of
We need like an actual list of these answers to
we
keep
got
with
to
us
get
so we
all
know.
of them. Yeah, yeah. How about this? And it will be for both. Well, I'm gonna give you the scenario on defense. You miss a tackle, like a one-on-one tackle. You miss. Guy goes for a long game. Now you got to come over to the sideline. Who's the coach who you really don't want to see?
Curtis Hill.
Yeah,
100%.
I could have guessed that one too,
Okay.
especially
Stay
on
away from him.
defense.
especially defense. All right, Michael. Here's one for you. You're wide open. Todd gives you a nice pass, and you drop the ball. Now you got to jog to the sidelines. Who's the coach you don't want to see?
I probably don't want to see none of the coaches, but like probably Coach Cushion or Coach Jack or Coach Mack. It's either one of them. They're just gonna.
It's gonna be ugly.
I do like his answer though. Like you don't want to see any of the
Anybody.
coaches. Like, it
You'd
doesn't
like to
matter.
go to the other
You go
sideline.
to the far, he'll be hanging out next to us. But these guys
Ed,
don't
what's
make too
your
many
other
mistakes.
question? What's the other one you always like to ask? Oh, who's the guy in the huddle,
Yeah.
either offense or defense?
Who's the team comedian?
the
That's
guy
what I
who
wanna
can make
know.
you laugh?
Richard
yeah.
Davis in the secondary.
Richard.
Boy, you both said that.
Always bringing the energy.
Okay, all right.
Who's the guy who, snaps everyone back together? Not a coach, player-wise, who snaps everyone back together. Maybe you guys are getting a little too loose, and it's time to refocus. Who's the one to press that button?
It's really all of us. We know when to stop the not really fooling around, but like lock in, get more serious. But all of us definitely.
Who is a player that, people from outside the program might not know, but you guys know, like, hey, he's not getting big stats. Maybe his name's not in the headlines, but is a really, really good underrated player that's important to what you guys do as a team?
I'd say most of our DBs, if we play more of like a run-heavy team, because we're stopping the run a lot, and when they run the ball heavy a lot, and we're stopping them, they're not really like throwing the ball a lot. So yeah, like their stats may not be there, but they're holding their own. They're covering.
And that's an underrated part of run defense. Your D-backs tackling well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Those guys done a pretty good job of that. this year.
Definitely.
Michael, you play defense, right?
Yeah, a little bit during a RBC game, Rumson game. Yeah.
Do you like it or?
I mean, I like it, but like when it comes to tackling, I just
I appreciate the honesty.
You do the Olay tackle, huh?
Yeah.
Like,
it's just when it comes to tackling, I'm just like, yeah, it's just not for me. But like when it comes to covering, I'm there, I'm locking. But like, when it comes to tackle, running back coming after me, I don't know what to do.
I appreciate the honesty. He just wants to run routes and catch passes. I appreciate that.
that's it. All right, a little about your future plans. Dante, you're a senior. Do you play any other sports?
No, I do not.
Okay,
Just
so
football.
you're a football guy. Do you want to play football at the next level?
Yeah, 100%.
Any thoughts? You're just not
Yeah,
yet.
I'm keeping my options open.
Okay.
Definitely, I'm getting looks.
All right.
Good stuff.
You, young man, you got a couple years,
Yeah.
but I believe some schools have already been in touch with you.
You have some offers, correct?
Yeah. I do want to. I do want to go to the league. Yes, I really do. I've been dreaming about that since I was like 5 years old, and I didn't think I was gonna come into high school and like blow up like this and get all these offers. And I have 8 right now, so like I'm just like I gotta keep going. It's just a blessing. Just a blessing.
Can you share the 8 with us?
Oh my. head.
Penn State, one of them.
I know I got Penn State,
Yeah.
Michigan.
Like,
West
stop right there. Okay, Michael, you are going to Penn State.
Big Penn State fan,
You
Mr.
are-
Williams.
all the other stuff is academic. Forget all about those places. Michael, you're going to be there on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, a whiteout with 108,000 people, and I'll be one of them. And you just got to stop that other stuff there because we got serious. We got a lot of great freshmen.
Let's not break any recruiting
No,
violations
I
today.
didn't do anything. I didn't think. Coach
You said
Frank,
Penn State, then Michigan, and you got
listen.
happy and then real quiet.
Listen, a lot's going to happen, obviously, for the next couple of years. And you go wherever both of you. The bottom line is you go to a place where you feel you can play and it's a good experience and you enjoy it because football is not forever. No matter what, no matter where you go, football is not forever. So really, we wish you guys the very best of luck Saturday against Bergen Catholic. And Dante, wherever you end up in school next year, we'll look forward to following you. And Michael, we'll see you for the next couple of years here at Tom's River. But we appreciate you guys coming down. Hope you had something to eat.
Of course.
What did you have to eat anyway?
The office sampler.
Oh, that was a nice choice. Very good. Michael, what did you go
Same
with?
thing.
You both went that way.
Yeah.
Solid choice. See, these guys are Griffins, man.
Look, when in doubt, just get a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The sampler, nice touch. Very good. Okay, well, this has been a provocative interview. Started with me saying that Michael's the first sophomore we've ever had on the show, and it kind of went downhill right from there. But we appreciate Dante Venieri and Michael Thomas III joining us here, and wish them nothing but the best. Good health to both of you guys, and thank you very much. You did a great job representing your school and your families. And we'll be back with a little more of this on the Varsity Link Coach's Corner after this on the Shore Sports Network. And welcome back. As I always say, we're in the fourth quarter here of the Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network. Kevin, Bob, and Ed kind of wrapping it up after talking Griffin football for the last few minutes, and we enjoyed chatting with them. I'll just give you just a little inside information. When Michael left the table, I just said to him, "We are," and he knew exactly what to respond with, Penn State, so I'm feeling very good about that. All right. Nah, we're just having a little good-natured fun there. So a couple of things.
But,
All right, guys.
yes, but at the same time, you'd like to see him wear
Well,
blue
absolutely.
and white. So.
Listen. I love having a local guy there. It gives me a hook.
It does.
For our listeners that don't know, you should have preferenced it by saying both of your kids went to Penn State.
Yeah, we're a Penn State family.
You're a Penn State family.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So.
And you've paid a lot of tuition to that school.
Yeah, I certainly did. That's right. And I had more fun than my kids.
And our next segment of the show, we talk about college tuition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of touched on it earlier. So here's our situation for Friday night, right? We got Toms River North hosting Kingsway in the South Jersey Group 5 tournament. In Central Jersey Group 4, Middletown South is home against Mainland. In South Jersey Group 2, and I know it's hard because the geography doesn't match.
Yes,
it's really
there
bizarre.
a lot of people get bent out of the shape about that. But
But in South Jersey Group 2, it is Raritan at home against Rumson, which assures the Shore Conference of having at least one sectional championship. And then, of course, we mentioned Donovan Catholic going to Bergen Catholic on Saturday. Red Bank Catholic, which was idle last week, swings into action in the quarterfinals of the non-public Group B tournament the Cases will be home against Gloucester Catholic on Friday night in their first playoff game.
Yes. Now that the non-public brackets are seeded, so they don't have an equal amount of teams in it. There's more
Right.
teams in non-public A anyway that had teams where they played in a pre-quarterfinal round. Now they have the quarterfinals this week. There's only 8 in non-public B, so they have that extra week off to get to there. We also have there are teams still left playing
Yeah,
in the
that's-
consolation tournament, officially called the Regional Invitational Tournament. I've had plenty of eye rolls about that, but hey, look, it's an opportunity for teams that didn't make the playoffs but are not, not really bad teams
No.
to continue on. And I think the teams that are playing have earned that fact. In South Forward, it'll be Brick Memorial heading to Little Silver to play Red Bank Regional Thursday at 5. That's the South Forward Regional Invitational Final. So that should be a good game. It's a rematch from a Week 2 game.
two.
Brick Memorial won 28-14. Both teams have gotten better. Both teams are playing really well. So I think that should be a competitive game, and I'll be there. And then in South 3, you have Wall hosting Pinelands. For Wall, to me, we only won one game in our division, and it's a tough year, but we're not a bad team. We're just in a great division, and someone's kind of got to be the nail in there. They were one of those teams, and they play a Pinelands team, which is, we talked to them, just a great year they've had. 7-3 now, tied the program record for wins. If they could beat Wall, that's a huge win on paper. It also given the most wins in program history. So 2 pretty intriguing games for Thursday night. So we get to see teams that, are not in it, but are in it.
You'll be at Red Bank Regional. I'll be at Wall tomorrow night. Steve Meyer will be up there. And they're kind of billing that. And if you could remember a couple of weeks ago when we had the Pinelands group on here, they talked about that family, F-A-M-I-L-Y, with periods in between,
Yes.
which stands for, forget about me, I love you. And it's kind of a philosophy. It doesn't just apply to sports. It's kind of just a way any company can run, but it's a philosophy that has been adopted by several Shore Conference schools. I think Wall was the initiator, and it's now spread to Point Borough, Point Beach, St. John Vianney,
Yes.
and Pinelands.
Yes.
And Pinelands is playing Wall, and they're kind of building it up as the family bowl because they're 2 of those schools that have adopted that philosophy, and it's pretty neat. It's something that we'll probably be talking about more in the future. We'll devote some time to it one of these weeks, and so that's tomorrow night. Now, here's the question.
At all.
Yeah.
I would think,
Not that
that's a
it's
good
important. Yeah, it's
I could see a trophy getting handed out, and that's when people start getting bent out of shape. Because there are, and look,
yeah.
people getting upset over there being regional invitation tournaments, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's where people start to cut. Come on, it's not a real tournament. Now you're giving out trophies.
Well, if you remember when Pinelands coach John Tierney was on with us, I asked him the question, so how did you get in this? He said, I don't know. They just told us we were in it. You know
how somebody read the tournament regulations 10 minutes after the regular season ended.
But anyway, listen, it gives these teams, and I'll say this, especially the seniors, another opportunity to play. So good for them. Let them make the most of it.
I have absolutely no
You
issue.
know.
I actually think it's great in the sense where the teams that are in these championship games, it's not bad for them. They're not playing out the string on teams that, are just can barely, get a win and you just want it to be over. That's the reality. No, these are teams that didn't make the playoffs, but are still solid teams.
Right.
So,
and I'm sure you'll see it tomorrow night, and I'll see it as well. It will mean something for the team.
oh yeah.
You know what I
if
mean?
you're a senior and this is the last time you're taking the field,
Yep.
sure, that means a lot to you to go out as a winner, to go out win your final game. And you can say, hey, look, we didn't make the playoffs, but we won this. We finished with 8, something wins. It's a positive thing.
Add the W's to your record.
Yeah.
Like you said, for a school like Wall, which was overmatched in the American division this year, won one game and has now won a couple more.
And you don't think those Wall kids want to keep playing? Now
Of
they're winning.
course they do.
This is the best they've played all year. So,
Absolutely.
if you're winning, you want to keep going. It's high school football. This is a finite time in their lives to do this. So, you can play more. If you want to and the team's having some success, let's go do it.
Go do it. Go do it.
Can I just throw a bone to my 2 granddaughters?
Absolutely.
Where I'll be tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to get to
Field
Brick
hockey.
Memorial. I'll
Tom
be
Dillon
at
Field
the South Jersey Group 4 field hockey game at Kingsway, ironically.
And Kingsway, look, this is not a field hockey show, but Kingsway did beat Eastern. So for the first time since 1998, there will be a new Group 4 champion.
How about you knowing that? Very
Yes,
impressive.
you read that. Kingsway is number 3
I did
in the
read
state.
it. I didn't look it up. That's for
so
sure.
it will be a tough matchup for North, who is 20-2 with their only 2 losses to Point Borough. But, yeah, I'll be making the trip down about 2 hours down to Kingsway, unfortunately.
I just drove by there.
Well,
coming home from Delaware
send
from the lacrosse tournament.
Send me directions, right?
It's on 322.
I know if I hit the Delaware Bridge, I've gone too far.
Yeah,
much too far.
You're in trouble.
Giant school.
Throw out your granddaughters' names. Give
Ella and Kara. One Ella's a junior, Kara is a freshman, and Ella gets more playing time than Kara as the freshman. But yeah,
all right.
Had a tremendous year. Katie Muller, the head coach, 20-2, as I said, A South champions, and looking forward to the game.
Well, thank you. That's our field hockey liaison, Ed Sarluca.
There you go.
It's one of the things Ed and I have in common. My daughter played field
hockey. Exactly.
I always say the stories. I used to go to the games, and all the parents, nobody knows the rules.
And they'd ask you, of course.
They'd ask
sports
me.
Guy.
You're
He
a
must
sports
know.
guy.
Yeah.
I knew nothing whatsoever.
No.
They ask
I
you,
still
you just turn white as a ghost.
Nobody. I'm convinced. Nobody knows field hockey.
It's the easiest game to referee. The easiest. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows the rules. Nobody yells at the ref because they don't know what the call is. I'm telling you, it's
I'll defer to you. You witnessed those games.
I witnessed to a lot of them. Let me tell you, but that was tough. All right, so I always find this. I say this all the time. Like we're wrapping things up. Like our season is kind of winding down. We know we're going to have at least one less team next week, right? The loser of the Rumson Raritan game.
The most we can have, in the public school bracket, the most we can have is 3 getting through. The most we can have left after this weekend is 5. If we have all 5, man, we're going to have a lot to talk about next week because some amazing things will have gone down. But in any event, there's a chance we will at least have one public school playing at Cherokee High School the following week in those group semifinal games. Who will it be?
First ever.
We don't know. First ever. I'm excited for it. I hope we get a bunch of teams through because I think winning an overall state championship it's a huge accomplishment. It's a different accomplishment than a sectional title, and you know what I'm talking about. You can just feel that when you're there covering. I can imagine winning it feels a little different. And now that we can get that experience in football where we haven't had it ever outside of the non-public teams, when we've been clamoring for some of these potential awesome group championship matchups, and we're going to get them this year, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And this year is special because it's the first ever.
Yes.
You will be the first ever Group 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And we have some legitimate juggernaut teams that can go and win it all.
Absolutely. As we sort of get ready to put the wraps on another edition, special thanks, of course, to the folks here at the Office Lounge. Nick Pagano, the general manager, saw him a little bit earlier and thanked him for hosting us every other Wednesday night during the course of the season. We will be at MJ's in Neptune next week, so I can tell you that we'll probably have a Monmouth County High School team featured on next week's show. Bob, this weekend, as we said, will be in Red Bank tomorrow. Friday, he'll be at Toms River North for the North Kingsway game. Steve and I, if weather somewhat permitting, will be up at the Rumson Raritan game. We'll, of course, Shore Sports Network. Matt Manley will be covering that game for us.
Yes.
So check out Shore Sports Network all weekend long for coverage of all these games. And we thank you for, watching tonight. We especially thank our friends from Donovan Catholic High School and their fan base. Nice group of people who showed up tonight for joining us. Steve Meyer, of course, our Mr. MacGyver, Tom Tremblay, who I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. Gets it all happening every week. For Ed Sarluca and Bob Batters, I'm Kevin Williams. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Don't rush it, Kevin. And hopefully have a good football weekend. You've been watching the Varsity Link Coaches Corner on the Shore Sports Network.